This is Tax Pro Nation, the home of independent tax professionals. Find community, maximize your earnings, and live life on your own terms. I'm your host, Jeff Dolan, Vice President of Pronto Tax School.
And I'm your co-host, Andy Frye, founder and CEO of Pronto Tax School. My grandfather started Pronto Income Tax in Los Angeles back in 1965. My father and I carried on the family business and became tax business entrepreneurs. I launched Pronto Tax School because I know that given the right training and tools, you too can experience the freedom the tax business can offer. I grew up with a dad who wasn't working all the time, who had time to spend with his 5 children, who could take us to the beach on a Tuesday if that's what he wanted to do. The tax business can be an ideal business for people who want that kind of freedom, but it's got to be done purposefully in order to work that way.
And that's why we're here, to help you navigate your journey as an independent tax professional. Don't do it alone. Join the nation. Let's jump in. Welcome to episode 3, where we will be discussing step 3 of the 9 steps of the Pronto Path, which is our map of the journey you will take as an independent tax pro. In this opening series, we are tackling 1 step per episode. Step 3 is called traction. Complete at least 50 tax returns for real clients. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning. Sweet, sweet traction. Sometimes it's hard to find, but when you get that feeling of getting traction, it's got to be one of the best things in all of business.
Speaking of traction, I like your coffee mug this morning.
Yeah. I got the blue collar coffee mug. You know, it's not the highest end coffee mug in the whole world, but it's got coffee inside of it, and that's what's important.
Awesome. Well, great. So today we're talking about traction. So this is where the rubber meets the road step, right?
Correct.
This is after activation. So last week we talked about building, testing, and validating your USP, unique selling proposition. And now you're actually signing clients, getting their taxes done, and getting into the business.
Yep. Yeah, you have activation, to simplify the unique selling proposition, part of it and just refresh people's memory is basically seeing, do people want what you have to offer? And are you offering it in a way where people respond? And so this traction step is you've done that. You have activated your business by telling people about your business, seeing if you can help them out. And traction is where it starts to work. So that activation phase, it lasts different amount of time for different people, depending on your sales skills, your target market, a lot of different things. But this traction stage, it feels really good to start getting your business going and getting clients. It's one of the most exciting parts of starting a tax business.
So why 50? That's kind of a unique number.
Yeah, so we use that number of 50 clients. And remember, you guys, this can also pertain even if you're not completely on your own and doing your own tax business, but say you're working at a tax company. This number of 50 tax returns that you've done for real clients is still going to be a very key milestone for you. And a few different reasons why we chose that number, and we use it in our own business as a key indicator. And I guess the long and short of it, Jeff, would be is if you can get 50 clients to choose you to do their taxes and to be happy with your service. If you can get 50, you can get 500. Right.
Yeah, you're doing something right. It's not like you just had family and friends and you pieced something together and you got 5 clients and you were really excited. I'm going to be successful. Well, you got to prove that out 10 times that.
Yeah. And so 50, it does indicate that you're getting traction. And if you get 50, you can get to 500. So I would say that's kind of the summary of why we feel that number is so important. And secondly, in order to process 50 tax returns in an efficient way and in a way that works for the client and works for you as a tax professional, you must have a process. You can't just completely be throwing anything at the wall, because if 50 clients start to feel like a lot when you're just starting out. And so that is why we teach the 5-step process, the 5-step tax prep process in all of our programs, to give you a way to order that interaction with the client. And once you have processed 50 tax clients, you kind of have proven that you're either using our process or you have your own process. You have a process.
You have something.
You have something that is approaching being repeatable.
Right.
You're
not just doing every client different and just, running around like a chicken with his head cut off trying to figure out, oh my goodness, I got all these clients. By 50, you have to have your act together.
Yeah. And it's the great thing about the tax business and the really challenging thing about it is that you're not only learning one new thing every day, but you're learning multiple things every day. So even 17 years into the business, I don't feel like I have everything together every day. But certainly once you've done 50, you have a process, you have some idea when you sit down with a client or interact with a client, like where to start. Okay, what's the next step? Not only knowing you what to do, right? Or you yourself knowing what to do, but being able to communicate that to the client in a way that builds trust. So you have some kind of process in place, and that's huge. And I think thirdly, about the number of 50 clients is you're starting to see what type of clients you're best suited to help. And you have a big enough sample size to start seeing some trends, either demographics or psychographics in terms of how your clients think. You start to be able to see some trends that are helping you to build your business.
Right. Yeah. And we talked about too, me coming from kind of corporate America, B2B sales that are high dollar sales, right? 50 sounded really high for your first season. And so if you're listening and you're like, oh my goodness, that sounds kind of overwhelming. Talk about that for a little bit.
It's interesting because it just shows you the power of perspective. Because 50 clients, like to me, and coming from a high volume tax business, where we are doing thousands and thousands of tax returns every season, I think 50 is like a very low number.
Right. Well, it's a lower dollar amount too, right? I mean, the first year tax pro is going to be charging in what price range?
I would say between, depending how you do your pricing, which I believe we're actually going to get into here shortly. You'll be between, say, $50 and $200, I would say, average. That's kind of the common range per client. And so with that being said, it goes back to that idea of having a process and be able to efficiently process those clients and assist those clients. Because remember, like taxes is, most people, they don't want you to take forever to do it. It's kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid. They want to get it done. They really, a lot of times they want it done yesterday. You're like, when do you need this by? I already needed it done yesterday. So can you get it to me in an hour? So I'm just providing that convenience and all those kind of things. And once you hit that 50 client mark, you will have navigated like those situations and shown that you can, meet expectations from clients or adjust expectations from clients, all those kinds of things. And so, 50 is going to sound like a lot when you're just starting out. It is something that, maybe it takes you a couple seasons to get to, and that's totally okay. But it's also something that once you hit 50, you have officially entered into the traction zone.
Yeah.
And so you have something to really celebrate at that point.
And your confidence is probably very high, right?
It's definitely getting higher, because you're going through those situations where you're going to see a lot of things in those first 50 clients where you've never dealt with that before. Flat out, like maybe 40 out of 50 of those clients have different situations, and I think that's something it's very exciting and empowering about the tax business is that constant learning. It's also very challenging. So you have a lot of need for training, which we try to provide. You have a need for support, community, not being by yourself out on that island. And so when you've gone through your first 50, you've gone just beyond initiation and even beyond activation. You're in the traction step, which is a big deal. And like I said, it's something that you need to celebrate.
So what I'm hearing is it's definitely doable in one season to get 50 clients.
Sure.
Because of the lower dollar amount and the amount of, how fast you have to do the tax returns. It will also teach you how to deal with different personality types and different people and what your sales style is and how you, how you work people through your process. How much effort does that take? Like how much time are you spending marketing, selling that first season versus doing the actual work?
So the way that I am is that when I'm starting a business, which I've started a number of businesses of varying, some things that worked out really well, other things that I learned a lot from. I don't like to leave things to chance when you're starting out. And so with that in mind, we use the idea that you'll be able to convert 10% of the prospects that actually meet your ideal client profile, and you've extended an offer to them that's a good offer. So if you talk to 500 people, you can expect to convert 50 clients.
Wow. And I know a lot of salespeople listening to this, 10% might seem like a slam dunk if they're at 50% close rates or something higher.
Right. But remember with taxes too, is that you're introducing yourself and everybody else is doing something else that's easier to stay doing that. So over time, you can convert a higher percentage, and that's why it's so important to be building your list.
Right.
As opposed to just will you do business with me? You're new. No. So what's your follow-up? What's kind of your method for keeping in touch with that person?
Right.
Over time, we expect closer to 30 to 40% of people, as long as they're a good fit.
Yeah.
But that first year, we're really kind of grinding it out.
Yeah.
And you're activating your business. So if you're thinking what do I need to do to get to 50 clients? You need to talk to 500 people. And that's why we encourage group presentations and social media and other ways to get in front of 500 people a lot more quickly than going one by one, if that makes sense.
Are you somewhere in your tax career and feeling lost with what to do next? Do you sometimes wish you had a map to show you your next step to reach your full potential as a tax professional? Here at Pronto Tax School, we have developed that guide. We call it the Pronto Path, and we want to share it with you for free. Go to taxpronation.com/path right now. Yeah, so I know I talked to a lot of creators and creative folks that, they're in photography or they're in filmmaking or they're trying to figure out, how do I get started? And how do I offer this for free for my first few clients? Do I come in really cheap or affordable? What are some ways that I can kind of close those first few clients?
So I think that's a great question. It's funny. It's actually something that I was talking to my wife about over the weekend. She's starting a new business, interior design business. And she had a couple of consults that she was feeling like the person wanted to just get more and more information and kind of do it themselves. And so as a tax professional, I was
free consulting.
Yeah, I mean, I was chomping at the bit because that has happened to me so many times. And I've seen so many of our members and our students deal with that same issue. So I was trying not to over deliver the input on that scenario, but I think the main point that I wanted to make in this conversation with my wife and also for anybody that's listening to this is when you're just starting out, you have to be so focused on the customer's needs and the client's needs that's the discipline of connecting with a client. So whatever you do as far as your pricing or your offers or different things like that, it's more productive and it's more positive to get into a zone of, I'm going to take care of this person and I'm going to do it in a business savvy way that works for me as well.
Right.
As opposed to a lot of people, and I've been there, you have hurt feelings sometimes, because you're starting out, you're like, oh, this person's trying to take up my time or whatever else. But really all they're trying to do is just solve whatever their particular issue is. Right? Just like anybody would. So if you're a really good service provider, you're going to figure out how to use their need to help them out. But you also have to have some way to corral them into a business interaction.
Or not.
Right? Or have them
Remember,
self-select out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
How fast can you get them to understand what they need and move on, right? Because if you're in a sales situation and you really are empathetic with them and you really understand what they need, you'll quickly be able to see that they want to actually do this themselves and they just want free consulting from you, and you'll give them just enough to get them on their way and you'll move on, right? Or you'll actually give them an offer that meets their needs. But I think the quicker you get to that, because I strongly believe salespeople, their job is to create an honest conversation. right? So to be able to have that conversation with that person, like your wife's, prospect, and honestly say, hey, is this something that you really want to do yourself and you just are looking for more information? If so, I've got a ton of resources I can, send your way, right? And then you move on, rather than what a lot of new salespeople do or new business owners do, or entrepreneurs. They kind of have that high expectation, like this person's going to buy from me, so I'm going to keep the conversation going, tiptoeing around the fact that they're probably not going to buy from you. They're going to do it themselves, right? So you waste a lot of time, you get really high expectations, and then you get those broken and shattered, and then you come down, and it's really sad because you really were looking forward to signing that person.
And also, it's you know that you can help them better than they can help themselves, but sometimes we have trouble communicating that. And so it's that feeling of, this is what you're looking to do because you think it's going to be cheaper or whatever else, but like really I can actually help you out. And so how to craft an offer that works for them. And so you might have something, if you're in the tax business, of where, okay, you're going to do it yourself. That's cool. That works for a lot of people that have a simpler situation. What I actually offer, because I end up picking up a lot of clients who try to do it themselves, is I offer a free review. So just do this. Go ahead and take a crack at it, and I'll take a review on it, see if I could improve it in any way. It's free. Or if you want to just skip all the hassle of doing it yourself, I could take care of it for XYZ. So you could give them like a two-way street kind of thing. But whatever that is, either way, Jeff, as you know from being in sales and marketing, you kind of got to rise above your own feelings.
That's right.
Your own hurt feelings that we get as service providers, and stay focused on that person and helping them out, because people sense that, and that's the kind of people that they want to work with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's something that I've learned over the years. You have to be detached from the outcome. If you are only interested in that person's end need, then whether they buy or not is irrelevant, right? And then something similar to that is if you have an abundance mindset where you know that there's going to be more prospects like this person coming, then you'll know that, I'm not worried about whether this person signs with me or not. I'm going to help them.
And that's what's so great about that traction stage where you've done 50 real tax returns, is you've crossed that bridge 50 times.
Right.
And sometimes it was a shorter bridge than other times. But either way, that you can cross that bridge, you can navigate that conversation successfully. And like I said, it feels great when you reach that point.
So let's talk a little bit more about the folks that kind of are thinking, well, I'll just offer everything for free and get 50 clients. What's your opinion on that approach?
My overall opinion on any type of business, especially the tax business, where there's so many different ways to do it right. Like I see other competitors, say, in the industry, and I see how people do things differently, and it works for them, and I respect that. And so I think our platform is a lot about, an open source type of platform where we can, encourage and respect various ways of doing business. So if somebody has a strategy of, I'm going to do my first 50 tax returns for free, and there's strategy behind that of why that makes business sense, then I probably could be persuaded to say, hey, that might make sense. I wouldn't recommend it until I hear, because there's something about don't forget, when you're working with people's taxes, it's not just what you do today, it's the train of all the other things that can come along later that you're stepping into, you're taking responsibility for to some extent.
Yeah, that's good.
So you can offload that responsibility by saying, well, I'm just doing it for free. But realistically, like if there's an issue that comes up later, how are you going to feel? Like how's the client going to feel? And so I think there's something to be said for letting people vote with their wallet and let them decide that they see enough value in you to work with you. So I don't believe in doing taxes for free, just as a tax business owner. I don't think that really helps the clients.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't like these different gimmicks. I don't espouse to the gimmicks of free tax preparation from a professional. However, like I said, if somebody has some kind of offbeat strategy that they want to do that to build up their client base, as long as there's a strategy behind it, I would I would keep an open mind, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about that. I mean, the implications are that you do it for free for a bunch of folks and they go out and tell their friends. And now you got a bunch of prospects that are expecting you to do their taxes for free. So are those the kind of referrals that you want? You want the expectation. And then, like you said, down the line, they want to hire you for something else. There was a complication. Now you got to charge. And now they're not used to you charging. So now you have to have that awkward conversation again. So I don't know that it really serves you well in the long term.
Yeah, it's interesting because you can have different ways to meet people's desire to not pay a lot for tax preparation, such as there's something called a bank product in the tax industry where it's pay nothing out of pocket. So when somebody's talking to you about how cheap they want you to do the job or that they want you to do it for free because you're the homie or whatever it might be, there's ways to say, you're concerned about that because you don't have any money right now. Don't worry about it. We have bank products where it's just taken out of your refund, super affordable. You don't even worry about it. Let me see what I can do for you. And then at that point, you can just decide. It's not going to be any hard feelings if you don't want me to complete the job. But just for now, just let me take a look at it, see if I can actually help you out. Let's start there. And then let's go from there.
Right. Yeah. So we were talking about price because that always comes up for folks getting started, right?
Oh, definitely.
They're always wondering, what do I charge? How do I charge? But is price the main decision point for folks?
Well, you've done your own taxes. Have you used professionals before too?
I have not actually.
Okay. You're a hardy soul.
I've done my own taxes. Pretty simple though, right? Been working in corporate America.
That's what they all say.
Pretty straightforward.
That's what they all say.
Yeah.
What do you think if you're shopping for professional tax help, or even if you're shopping to do it yourself online? Is price the main consideration for you?
So yeah, I did think about this. Obviously, coming on the team at Pronto Tax School, I had to ask myself the question, why haven't I hired a professional yet? And a lot of it comes down to me really not finding anybody that I trust, right? In the situations where I did kind of get into some situations where I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. And I had to research a bunch of things, and where I was tempted to hire somebody, I thought through like, well, if I do that, they're going to know pretty much a lot about me. And it's almost like a counseling relationship, like I'm going to share a bunch of stuff with them. They're going to know, like, this is kind of a private matter, and I'm a very private person. So it was just one of those things where I don't think price would have been a problem, within reason.
And because it would be more important, that relationship of trust,
correct,
would far override the price.
Right. So if somebody came along and they told me, hey, I'm going to handle all this for you. I'm going to do it in a very private way. Like, right, they're talking my language. It's very confidential. I'm not going to share this with you. I don't do business with any of your friends and family. I don't discuss this with anyone else. I'm a professional. I'm licensed. I'm credentialed. All that, right? And then, it's $200 or whatever. Like, I don't think I would have a problem with that.
Right. Whereas if it was $600, you'd probably be less interested.
Well, if it was $600 and he didn't speak my language and didn't do the kind of taxes I needed him to do, and he was trying to like close me on something, no.
Right. But if everything else was a fit and it was $600,
it would have to be a complicated tax matter that I was scared of, right? Like, I got myself into a situation where like I started 3 businesses and I didn't understand what I was doing, and that would be cheap. Right.
So I think that we've hit on a bunch of good points, and thanks for sharing your point of view on it, Jeff. And so 2 key things that I want to highlight out of what Jeff just said, which are going to be universally applicable when it comes to taxes, is greed. And it's not greed like necessarily like the bad greed, but what's going to be the difference between if you do your own taxes and if we do your taxes? How much more am I going to like what's going to be the difference in terms of dollars, right? So like I'm going to get a bigger refund, I'm going to lower tax, whatever. That's motivator number 1. Number 2, different people have different 1 and 2, but number 2 is fear. So if I do my own taxes, XYZ could happen, and that could result in XYZ. And so for us as marketing, our marketing our tax services, we have to be plugged into both of those things at all times. Like you have to understand that for a younger guy like Jeff, it's the default option for people under 40 is to do your own taxes, unless there's something else that's going on, right?
Right.
So when you're talking to somebody, and that's a great thing about getting to this traction stage, again, is because you've had these kind of conversations by now and 50 times it worked. It worked 50 times,
right,
you know?
Right.
So that's a big deal. But you're basically determining like, what's the difference between them doing their own taxes in terms of money? Like, can I actually save them money by my professional expertise? And also, can I allay their fears and their insecurity to give them that peace of mind? And again, there's going to be a delta for that between doing it themselves and hiring a professional, right? So when it comes to your pricing, I think that it's tempting for a lot of new tax preparers, Jeff, they even will reach out to us. You know, they'll call our tax education hotline, 310-422-1283. And they'll ask, hey, can you guys send me a price list or something like that? And so we actually stopped doing that. It's like we could do that, but that's not the point of your pricing. Like your pricing it needs to be determined, to the value that you're providing. And you as a professional, you just got to work through that. And part of this traction stage and your activation into your traction kind of stage of your career is figuring out pricing that works for you. But no matter what pricing you use, you have to be plugged into that, that fear and greed dynamic, and understanding that and talking to that person in that way, as opposed to a lot of tax professionals that we have a tendency to like, well, you have a Schedule A and a Schedule C and a Schedule D, and it's just like, dude, no one cares. Like, whatever. Like, why is that $500?
Right.
Like, because you have to like swirl some papers around or whatever.
Right.
But it's $500. Like, okay, yeah, because if this would happen and you were to do X, Y, Z, this could be a big problem for you. You don't need that. And somebody like you're so busy. Like, you don't need to spend 8 hours doing that. How much is your time worth? Like,
right.
It's probably worth more than that.
Right.
So this is starting to make sense. I'll tell you what, let's do this. Why don't you send over your stuff? No obligation. I'll take a look at it, see what we could do for you. And at that point, I'll be able to quote out an exact price. You won't be under any obligation. It'll be 100% confidential, all that good stuff. Let's just take a look at it and see if it would work out.
Sounding good, Andy. I might hire you here. Who knows?
I could have another client right here on this podcast, man. I knew this would pay off.
Are you thinking about getting into the tax business, but not sure where to start? Maybe you're not even sure the tax business is the right fit for you, and you don't want to invest a lot of money or time quite yet. You just want to get a taste of tax knowledge and see if you like it. Or maybe you're an experienced tax pro and you see someone else in your world who needs an introduction to the tax business, but you don't have time to teach all the basics. If either of those situations sound familiar to you, you need to check out the Pronto Tax School Basic Income Tax course today. It's fun, entertaining, and gets you a real IRS credential. Go to taxpronation.com/basic to find out more. Okay, so let's talk about the different personality types at the startup stage, connecting with the different personality types. So you have kind of the people that are good with numbers versus the people person kind of people. You know what I'm talking about?
You mean for on the professional side, like what type of person are you when you're starting out, or more so like what are the clients like, or both?
Both. Knowing what your personality is and your clients and prospects and how you interact with them. Because I think if you're attracted to the tax business, you might be a numbers person, right? You might be very technical, and you might lack some of the people skills that you need to have conversations and close business and do it. And you might be kind of scared of that, right? You might want to be the kind of person that just goes to work for a tax business and gets clients sent to them to do, right? So talk a little bit about, self-awareness, knowing yourself, knowing whether you do need to partner with somebody to start to get business, or whether you are that kind of personality that can do both. Or the opposite, right? You're a people person that sees this as a really great opportunity because you're a great salesperson and you really want to build a real business, and you don't necessarily want to do the actual tax work. You want to partner with a team or hire folks that can do that are professionals. So talk a little bit about, that thought process of how you would kind of think through that as a new business owner or employee.
Well, first of all, it's a huge deal, and it's something that is very underrated and it's under the radar. That, we usually divide, and I've seen a lot of other tax business owners, do this as well. It's just based on what you see from actual human nature and being in the industry. Is we don't divide people, but we notice certain trends of people being stronger in one area than the other. And so you have your technician and you have your business development person. So when you have a tax business that is really working, a lot of times, partnerships are really tough. So, and they can be very complicated as the business grows.
What tax form is that? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, partnerships like for you as a tax business owner, but you'll also have to figure out what tax form it is. It's Form 1065. And so knowing which of those, where you are on that spectrum, because it's rare. Like we sometimes joke around and say like somebody that has both those skills is they're basically a unicorn, so you're not a lot of times going to find a lot of unicorns, or you just go out in the forest, you start looking around. And so when you're hiring people, but especially when you're in this, like you said, self-awareness phase of, you're starting to get traction. Like, which side are you more on, the technician or business development? Either side is okay because they're actually both extremely important.
Right.
You're not going to be able to get to 50 clients with absolutely no business development skills. Like, period.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get to 50 clients if you don't know how to do a tax return, generally speaking, unless you have somebody else that's doing that.
Right.
So if you feel like early on in this stage that you're more so this person, this way, you're a technician, you're a business development, there's nothing wrong with finding a place where you can fit in at that stage of where you are and playing to your strengths, but also like, we don't need to, I feel like a lot of times we limit ourselves. This is who I am or whatever. But if they look at psychology and things that, that people that are successful is that you could change your personality numerous times throughout your life to get where you want to go. And I actually enjoy doing that. Sometimes you might take, I'm a little bit more quiet, but then a few years down the line, you might be the life of the party type of person. You're trying to grow yourself and develop yourself. And I think that's a big part of like, to get to the traction stage, to get 50 clients, you can be all technician. You can be all business development. As long as you're, either have somebody else who's taking care of the other side of the business, either an employer, a partner, or whatever it is.
Or you have a good system, right? You have a good process for how you approach clients and how you get clients.
Yeah, but I mean, if you come to like, you're getting clients and you don't know how to do the work,
that's a problem.
It's not going to be very fun. I mean, it's going to be a short-lived type of, business for you generally. So, if you're addressing your weaker area by someone else, either an employer, a partner, that can be a really good way to get started. However, I would say that, if you're really serious about building up a really great career and going through these 9 steps that we talk about on the Pronto Path, like, I mean, gosh, this is a really big accomplishment. You go through all that. So, what's your attitude towards doing that? Like, are you looking to always get better? Looking to add something, that you can help your clients more. So I would say just for people out there, like, even if you recognize yourself in the technician or the business development, you say, I'm not good at whatever else. Like, you could still keep building yourself up. And who knows, you might, end up being really good at both of them.
Right. No, that's great. That's a good word. Let's talk a little bit about if you're in your city or your town and you're sitting there, thinking about starting a tax business and you already see the ads, especially around this time of year, you're seeing all the ads from all the different tax companies, the local businesses, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, how do I even break into this? How do I position myself against the existing competitors, right? Is that something that is relevant at this step in the process, or should we just totally ignore what's going on?
No, I mean, anytime you want to advance yourself in business, you have to be aware of what other people are doing and what other options are out there, because that's what people look at, right? Is like, as a client, I mean, you've been a customer of various services. Everybody has throughout our lives, right? And we look at other options. That's just like what you do as a savvy consumer. So yeah, absolutely, you need to be positioning yourself as to why you're a great solution for this type of client or for this particular client. And you need to be speaking that language. And so that's why that activation step is so important, because when you're activating your business and you're expressing, this is how I can help you out, and this is what is going to be different than all the other options that you have out there, is going to be a better fit for you, you're going to see the reactions from people. And sometimes certain people might not respond to that. Other people will respond to that. When you're in the traction phase, you're basically you already have figured that out somewhat of what that looks like. Like, just to give an example, so we're not talking about all generalities, right? Is like, let's say you take care of the taxes for truckers. Okay, so truckers, like, think about their life, right? They're out of the area driving. They may be like, there's definitely a certain degree of loneliness to it. They're away from their families. So when they get back in town, right, and they have a family, like, they're not trying to do their own taxes, right? Come on, and they have other deductions and things that they end up spending money on out of their own pocket. So there's a difference between them doing it themselves. And so they want like a convenient experience, something that if they're out of town, you could still get it done. So don't have to like always be stuck in traffic. You can think through, like, what does that person want, right? And then you basically just, get in front of as many truckers as you can with that message. And, that's going to resonate, right? You're solving a problem for them, and they're going to be, and you have clarity about, which I hope we'll talk about more too in this traction stage, is your clients have clarity about who they should be referring to you and why they should refer those people to you and why they're going to look great when they refer Don to you.
Absolutely.
Right? Oh, yeah. Don, yeah, he doesn't want anything to do with that, and he's totally disorganized. Oh, don't worry about it. We help people like that every day. Cool. Yeah. What's his number? Include me on a group text. Like, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so traction is just like that fun part of your business where you're like, oh my gosh, this is like actually working.
And I'm helping people and I'm making money. You're on the road, right?
And you're getting momentum, you're moving along.
And confidence.
Yep.
So one of the interesting things that we had talked about before the show that was kind of surprising, but it made a lot of sense, was, if you're a new entrepreneur or you're trying to get clients, you don't necessarily go to your family first or in friends. So talk about that.
Yeah, so that's something that we hear frequently, is that I want to just start with family and friends. And it's an interesting dynamic because again, we're an independent, open source type of platform. So when somebody says, I'm going to do XYZ, like, we don't really say, don't do that, or, that can't work, because starting with friends and family has worked for a lot of people, so it's not, but to me, and based on what I've seen, is I don't think that's much of a strategy. And I think that if that is your only strategy, then that activation phase, step may last for an eternity, because for friends and family, you got to think about it like this, like, it's just like you said, when you're a private person and with regard to your taxes and stuff, is like, once you're doing all your family's taxes and like,
not so private anymore.
Like, relationships can get strained, and especially when you're just starting out, like, God forbid something goes wrong with a family member, and it used to be like your favorite uncle, and now you guys like aren't talking because like his refund got confiscated. Like, who knows what could happen? So I just think you can't really rely on that. And I would use more an approach with family of, this is what I'm doing now, and telling them about it, including them on your journey. and having them be supporters of you, but not pressured in any way to use you, or like that I'm relying on you, like you're my friend, like you're my because people have their own motivations, like if I'm your friend and you're doing taxes, like I might not want you to know how much money I'm making or not making. Right. So then if you're offended that I'm not going to do taxes with you, like now I'm offended that you're offended. Like it's just like you're annoying me. Like get out. Like let me know when you're done with that whole thing, right? As opposed to like letting friends and family come to you. Is this something that you're doing, right? And you're just moving around. Yeah.
Support you and help you find clients rather than be your clients.
Yeah. Right. Or if they want to be your clients, they have chosen consciously to do that. And you have chosen to help them out because you can help them out in a great way. And it's not going totally over your head. And you're not just relying on that family bond, as a source of a business, Now, that being said, a lot of people do start out with friends and family, and I don't like to say that we need to turn them all away, but just strategy wise,
it's limited, right? I mean, even if you went to your family reunion with 100 people, right? You flew out to some state and you had this huge party and there were 100 people. At some point, you're going to run out of prospects.
Sure.
Right? And you're going to have to find a sustainable target market to sell and help, right? So yeah, I don't think it's a long-term strategy, but it's interesting because I think a lot of businesses at this stage, that's kind of where you're starting, right? Because those are the people that that trust you, that know what you're doing. But I thought that was a good point to talk about. So you have that support structure. You have that confidence that's building. You're closing clients. You're helping them. You're seeing the money come in. You're tasting that freedom. It's very exciting, right? You're at the very exciting stage. Let's talk about the balance of experience versus confidence, and how that plays into this dynamic of growing your business.
So let's envision kind of a common scenario with somebody that we would help get into the tax business would be somebody that already has a full-time job. They want to start building up a little side business, and hopefully that would grow over time, and this could grow into their full-time business. So in the traction stage, you'll have great experiences. Like for instance, you worked all week at your day job, so to speak, and you come to Saturday morning, you work from like 9 in the morning, you have some client appointments, say you work till like 1, and you make $700. And you really help people out. Okay, then you're like, gosh, I just made $700 and I made $700 all week working 40 hours a week. Then you start to see like, oh gosh, this could really like work out for me. And so that's what we see in terms of like envisioning having some more freedom, having more control of your own earnings. That's like the tax business dream that we talk about. Now, in terms of getting to that point, it's all about experience because it is all about confidence. And how are you going to get confidence with something like taxes without experience? It's like chicken and the egg. I mean, like you have to hatch somewhere, right?
Right. So, I mean, how do you get enough confidence in those first few clients?
I think I think that's a great question. I think it's something that, like you and I always joke about when we're like running into brick walls on the business, different business stuff is like, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So you can't expect that it's just like, oh, you're just going to like knock on this brick wall. It's just like going to fall over. Okay. You got to like climb over it. You got to go to the side. Got to figure out a way that's going on. And that's what we try to do with this podcast or our training materials, just give you little techniques to do that. But a lot of it comes down to when you sit down with a client, especially your first few clients, just realizing and taking pride in the fact that I have your best interest in mind. And so I'm not going to rush this. Like this, they usually know it's one of your first tax returns. Like I remember when I was doing my first tax return, I was, and this lady ended up being like a longtime client. She's like a friend. And I was using like the top thing on the keyboard for the numbers instead of the 10 key.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The F keys?
Yeah, I was using like the F keys because you guys got to remember, I'm an English major in college. Like I wasn't like ever be like, I'm going to be an accountant, And she was looking at me and I was like, well, why are you looking at me weird? You know, like, is this weird? Like, am I doing it wrong? And she just realized, like, this is the first time that you're doing this, right?
It's the first time you've ever used a keyboard?
This is the first time, Jeff, that I'd ever used the numbers on a keyboard. I was like, I thought they just had letters, you know? So I thought I'd never really messed with that. Oh. And then my mentor, Jesse, came over to me and said, you know, actually, Andy, it's going to be easy if you use this thing. It's called a 10 key, right? So I just go, okay, I'm going to start using that, right? And then in a matter of 2 weeks, you know, I'm like knocking away on that. I feel great. You know, I feel confidence because I know how to use a 10 key. You know, it's just sometimes it's the simple things. And the client starts seeing like, he's really working that 10 key. You know, he must be, I hope he's making my refund go up or whatever the case may be. But I mean, you just got to kind of take your lumps a little bit when you're first starting out, right? But what was the moment of those kind of things that helps you get beyond that is having somebody in the office come over and say, like, stop what he's doing, care about me enough to come over and say, let me help you out. And like say hello to the client to let them know that, like, no matter what happens with new guy over here, like we could take care of you.
Tax pros have seen it coming for years. The entrepreneurial wave is here, and that means more opportunity to do corporation, S-Corp, and LLC business tax returns. With the new tax law, they're even more complex and in demand. Professionals who increase their skill set in this area can expect to become more profitable and successful. Pronto Tax School has the perfect online training course for you called Business Tax Verified with CPA Adam Shea. Find out more at taxpronation.com/business.
The biggest thing that we have found, and one of the reasons that, as you know, we have started doing this podcast is because it's all about community. It's all about support. So what about that kind of lone wolf that's out there just totally learning on your own? You know, that's tough. Like, that's really tough. And that's what we found. And so that's why we want to build more and more community into the situation. And so take, for example, some of our business opportunity members in our program where we help people start from A to Z, a tax business, from having absolutely no training into have their own business, right? So I think we're up to helped about 30 people do that. And so one of the biggest things that I feel like is a value for them is because we have Glenn Weilant, our tax business opportunity mentor, has been in the industry for 37 years, worked with all the big companies. The business opportunity members also have access to me, is use your team when you're starting out. Even if your team is not like in the office or whatever, but having a team and expressing to the client that, because like I said, they usually know you're new to the business, right? It's not like some mystery where they think like you've been doing this for 20 years, right? So little methods like, maybe you just do the interview in front of them and you take the work elsewhere. And even when you're doing the interview, a lot of times clients, right, they want to test your knowledge by asking you about X, Y, Z. And maybe you don't know the answer. So what we train people to do is say, you know what, that's a great question. Let me make a note of that. I'm going to check with my team. That includes Andy, Glenn, you know, whatever resources that you have. So I'm going to hold off on giving you the answer right then because I want to make sure that it's the best information, but I'll make sure I'll circle back with you.
Yeah. And it's always, I mean, this is, you know, sales 101. It's perfectly okay to say, I don't know, but I will research it and give you the best answer when I return. And actually, sometimes you want to have some of those, right? Because you want a reason to follow up. So I think that's a way to build that confidence, right? And have someone there as a resource, a mentor. So as you're starting off, and we're going to get into this in further steps, but finding that support team, right?
And expressing it, Jeff, not to cut you off, but expressing it to the client as to making them feel reassured.
Right, that's true.
Because it's how they feel. Like a lot of times, again, we get caught up in our feelings of like, I'm super nervous, like doing this. Man, if you're super nervous, imagine how nervous the client is. And that's who's actually going to pay you. So you got to be focused on like what's going on with them.
Right.
And so situating your resources ahead of time, being a part of our community. There's other, good communities too that you can be in the tax industry. It can, even if you don't have a ton of experience, it can help you bridge that gap, build up your experience, and build up your confidence.
That's great. Love it. So what are some other techniques that we can use to get to our first 50 clients?
That's a great question. You're a marketing and sales guru, so feel free to also jump in and help me out on this. But I think there's sort of three main techniques that if I just had to choose three things, I would start with would be in-person networking. So getting involved in a community, a group that involves your ideal clients. So being at places where those people are, whether it's, Chamber of Commerce, whether it's a BNI group,
meetups,
meetup.com, there's tons of different interests and things like that. And just being in person with people and practicing that networking. I mean, like I remember when I started out in the business, I was like, it was painful to me to go to networking events. Be like, oh man, everybody's like so fake here. Like, you like stand in the corner, you don't really know what to say. Maybe you're younger or you're older or you feel like you don't fit in, whatever it is. So there's a certain point of where you're just like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and break through that and do this because I believe it's important and get focused on other people in the room.
Yes. Be interested in the value that you can provide. And be interested in other people. What do you do? Find out.
Because people are there and they're on their own journey. They're starting a business and maybe they feel like it's not going to succeed.
Right.
They're scared it's not going to succeed. They're worried about what other people in the room are judging them. So I really think that one of the biggest things for having a service business is knowing how to focus on the other person and really be focused on them and care about them and build up your own skills to where you can actually help them. I mean, it's not enough to just care about them.
That's right.
Right. The tax business, it's a pretty hard-nosed business as far as like, you got to be able to make the numbers work and like, you got to have technical knowledge and all that. But, the power of it is all in the relationships. And so when you get in a room with people, you learn about people, and you get to talk to people and figure out what are their pain points. What's their current solution? Like, oh, you love your current accountant? Why?
Yeah.
Like, how much can you learn from that type of conversation? Oh, because he does X, Y, Z. Maybe you could do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, exactly. And that's important too when you actually know who your target market is, right? You know what groups to look up online. You know which groups to search for. So you're not just going to your Chamber of Commerce. That might not be where you need to be.
Exactly.
Depending
and often
on
it's
your
not.
audience. Right. So really knowing what your target, who you're helping is going to narrow down. Like if it was the truckers you mentioned earlier, I'm sure they have conventions or meetings or, they get together in certain spots that you could research and find out where do these people gather that I could be.
Yep.
And then you just offer, what you do. And then if you're involved in those communities, once you get a little bit more mature and more confident, and you do some good jobs for people, when you're in those meetings, it's like, hey, come over here and meet this person. They do taxes. They did my taxes. It's amazing. Come over here. Oh man, they got me a great refund. And it just, it's a circle of awesomeness. It just keeps, it just keeps helping you, right? And you being present in those meetings really helps you. So.
And that's that traction phase. Is that when you start to feel actually, wow, I enjoyed being at that networking event instead of like, wow, that was horribly awkward. Like, I hope I never do that again. So activation, sometimes it includes experiences like that where it's something new for you. You're out of your comfort zone. So I think just when you're outside your comfort zone, you're going to feel some discomfort. But that's when you're really growing. And then traction is the stage of where I kind of know when I go to a networking event, sort of what to do. And it's going to like work out. And I'll probably make 4 or 5 like good contacts that could be either clients or referral sources. And so in terms of another marketing method that works great would be hooking up with another service provider that is in a related field. Like for instance, we had like somebody that did incorporations, right? When we were starting to do more business client work. And it's a mutual benefit. you got to be careful with some of those things because, you got to make sure they're doing a good job and all that kind of stuff. But if you find somebody in your community that deals with similar clients in a related service and you guys can kind of co-market, that can be a really great marketing method to increase your traction. And then thirdly, I would say social media marketing can be very effective when done in a certain way.
Right.
There's a lot of ways to do it wrong, which I've done pretty much all of those. But I've also I personally view my personal Facebook as a business tool.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, I like seeing some people on there, but I essentially maintain that somewhat for business purposes to some degree.
Right.
Just because so many people have contacted me over the years through that channel, message you, okay, I see you guys doing this, or just telling your story about what you're doing, not selling hard or anything like that, but just this is what we do and being out there. And just think about the numbers. If you have 500 friends or 500 connection on LinkedIn and you're publishing, you're putting out content about how you're helping people. I mean, not everybody loves social media, but nobody can deny that it's a great way to get your message to a lot of people at pretty much no cost.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, it's unlike anything we've ever had before. I mean, we're living in an era where you can put your message out and publish it to hundreds and thousands of people with the click of a mouse. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, you used to be able to have to go to all these events and pick up the phone, and it's hard to get in front of people. Now, everyone's on their phone, looking at their phone. You can put a message right in front of them. That's huge. But you got to do it, like you're saying, in a respectful way, right? You can't be that obnoxious person that every time you say, "Oh, let me see what Andy's doing on Facebook." Oh, he's trying to sell his businesses again, his services again. Mute, delete, block, turn off, unfriend, right?
Yeah.
You want to be helpful in whatever platform that you are on, right? So communicate in the platform that you're on, right? So if you're on Instagram and you're sharing pictures, you could share pictures of yourself in the office with, your clients helping people if they're okay with that, and say, "Hey, I just, I helped this person." If they're okay with it. If they're not, they're private like me. They don't want to be on Instagram or Facebook, so don't do that, right? So I think there's certain ways you can do it where you are sharing your story without selling necessarily, right? And then it's going to be pretty obvious, right? Like in your case, where they know you do taxes. All your friends know you do taxes. If they talk to somebody and they're talking to a business owner and they're a high net worth individual and they're doing a bunch of taxes, they have a need. Hey, Andy does high net worth individuals, right? Send them his way, right? And it's like you were saying before, they're going to want to refer you, right? Because they're confident in what you provide, and it makes them look good.
And also, you with taxes it's not like a restaurant where it's like the food is so delicious, like I just can't resist going there. It's taxes, bro. We don't if there were no tax professionals tomorrow, without a loss of clients being represented, clients being helped out, people's lives being decomplexified, having protection against the IRS and all, if there was no need for that, people would be like, "Oh, you guys are done. I'm cool. I don't have to deal with you ever again." And I would be happy. So just remember, it's not, the people aren't coming to us because they just love us, they just want to spend this 2 hours with us. They're coming because they have a problem that they want to get solved, and they want it to be done in a way that doesn't make them feel totally miserable.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, it's like going to the dentist. You don't want to do that, but you just don't want your teeth to all rot and fall out of your head. You're not going to so it's just remember that when we're marketing, we're putting ourselves out there as a solution to somebody's problem. My problem is I got more complexity this year. I usually do my own taxes. Don't feel comfortable doing it. Could you be a solution for me? My problem is my refund is such a big part of my financial picture. It's $7,000 and I make $19,000 for the whole year. I cannot risk anything happening to that. So no, my cousin cannot do my taxes.
Right.
Because if anything happens to that $7,000, So are you a solution to that problem? I'm always on the road. I'm a trucker. I don't have time to deal with any of this. I want to go to a place where I know deals with truckers and knows my particular situation. Are you a potential solution to that? Just remember, people are looking for a solution to whatever their problem is. They're not coming to us out of like a desire to like going to a restaurant. It's totally different.
But I would argue that might be a good niche to flip the script on that, right? And to say, hey, I help people that are growth minded and actually want to find new ways to get tax, benefits, right? How do I find out? Like we were talking about with the solar credits, the new opportunity where high net worth individuals can really figure out how to get huge benefit there on their taxes. So
remember, even that, Jeff, is still derives from a problem that the person has in their own mind of I'm paying too much taxes.
Good point.
It's still problem based. It's still need based. And so I think that that's really important for tax marketing is to you're the solution to a certain number of people's problems. Even the people like in our Pronto Tax School members, they love to just solve people's problems, just help make their life a little bit easier. So once you're in that dynamic and you just understand that, it's so easy to get clients, man. And that's the traction stage as you start to feel that. It's like, wow, this is actually pretty easy.
Well, and it gets back to a concept in business where you ask the question, is this medicine or a vitamin, right? And in the tax business, you're saying it's medicine.
If you're doing it right, I mean, because that's the problem with a lot of people that are having trouble getting traction on your business is that you're portraying it as a vitamin. Like, oh, you're going to do your own taxes. Like, you shouldn't do that. Like, it's not. You can.
Wait, you mean a vitamin or a pill? Like medicine?
Like they could. The people portray it as a vitamin. Like, it's like you should go to a professional. Like you should.
Like it's a nice to have.
Like it's like, exactly. And people are like, nah, no, how about no? Whereas like if they really feel like I need this medicine to like, to prevent me from this happening to me or like not getting the biggest refund that I could, missing out, XYZ. I mean, look at the other marketing that people do, that other tax businesses do. And it's the successful marketing is mainly revolved around taking care of a problem that you have with regard to taxes. So I don't find any success in like saying that people should do XYZ because it's like good for them. That's a tough.
Well,
look
at the industry I just came from, like medical. With doctors. I mean, you're coming to the doctor first because you have a problem. It's very rare that you're going in, because you proactively are super healthy and want to get a physical. I think more of that is happening because you have more growth-minded people that want to stay healthy, preventative medicine. But I mean, for the vast majority of people, they're coming in because they got a problem, right?
Yeah, just the numbers on it. And I don't mean for that to be, I hope it doesn't come off as negative because it's actually helping people is such a positive. And sometimes when you're helping to clean up somebody's mess or fix their immediate urgent need, you have a chance to actually counsel that person to a more healthy situation with regard to taxes. So it's like, sometimes that's your entry point to get them on a better path. And I don't want to say it's like always 5 alarm fires, but especially when you're first picking up clients, like you're probably going to pick up people that are unhappy with their other solution. And they have some perceived problem, like, oh, I had a problem. My tax preparer didn't call me back when I needed them. So I'm looking for somebody new. Or when I go in there, they just don't explain anything to me. They just like print it off and just treat me. And they have so many clients that never like call me back. Like, what's the person's problem? What's their pain point? If you stay focused on that and then you can, give them a solution that feels great and they actually enjoy, I mean, it's a winner.
So you're saying that you could have a counselor service down the hall and partner up and refer people. Oh, so do you need counseling as well? Have that service that's down the hall there.
we always would joke about how like one of our offices, our West LA office it's kind of 2 offices and one is divided down the middle. And we were always like, we got to get a psychiatrist in the back or a massage therapist.
Right. Get your massage, get your taxes done, get some counseling.
Yeah. Here at Tech Mountain, we don't have to worry about the massage therapy because we have a massage chair right in the middle of our office for some reason. So I'll probably go use that after this podcast.
Well, that sounds good, Andy. Well, this was great. This was fun. I look forward to next week, where we're going to talk about step 4 in the Pronto Path, on the Pronto Path, and that's elevation. I've been Jeff Dolan.
And I've been Andy Frye. Thank you for listening.
All of the show notes for this episode can be found at taxpronation.com/3. We have actually created an infographic of the Pronto Path so you can see the steps in one place. Go ahead and download that on the same page. We hope this episode made your life a little bit easier and more profitable. Join us next week as we continue down the Pronto Path to talk about step 4, elevation, raising prices on existing clients and be working in at least one highly profitable niche. Take care.